in to the final masterclass of the week. It's been an intense, incredible, productive, challenging, stretching, like that Stretch Armstrong doll that I used to have when I was a kid. But it's been awesome. 10 classes. Torie is joining us here from Maui. Torie, how has it been for you this first week of Ascend?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been great. It's been a good time sharing and get to hear the other band members share as well. It's been amazing.
That's been my favorite, watching other people step up and lead. And that's what this class is about. Avion, you mind pulling that?
Yes, I was wondering.
My wife is worried about the lighting here. There it is. I don't look as orange. I'm not as pumpkin-y as normal. But why don't you come a little forward and we'll officially start. Welcome to another episode of Ascend. And this is a very crucial one. It is band leading. How to lead a band. You know, I was just posting something in social media, which is something that a leader needs to do. Even if they have somebody else doing it, they need to be involved. And I was doing the talk to text thing, and it said that I'm teaching a class on band leaving. Yeah. So if you are a leader of a band, chances are you've dealt with people leaving. And chances are you've thought about leaving yourself. It isn't the easiest thing in the world. And let's just kick this off with a word of prayer. Lord Jesus, leading other leaders is a daunting task. Shepherding other shepherds is a massively important responsibility, Father. I just pray that you would guide me with the right words to say and mute me when I want to say the wrong words. Guide us today and help us lead this next generation of worshipers. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Welcome. You are the few. You are the elect. It's like SEAL Team 6. I was just doing some swimming training with my daughter, and on the way to the pool at a friend's house, I had her watch something on YouTube about what SEAL Team 6 had to go through versus just a normal naval corpsman. And it's hardcore. It's kind of one of those things where you only do it if you really, really want to. And then when you're doing it, you're like, why am I doing this? I'm killing myself.
Yeah.
But you're not called to anything less. And that's what a leader is. So the first thing that I always ask people with any band is, what's your mission statement? So I'd like to lead with that. If you're a leader, what is your mission statement? I remember back in 1993, maybe 92, our bassist had come in, Lyndon Allen. He went to business school. He was a smart guy. And he said, what's our mission statement? I'm like, Reggae for Jesus. Simple, right? It's like, no. We need a core mission statement. And to me, it was kind of a waste of a band practice at the time. It's like, let's jam, man. You know, we're a garage band. Let's jam. But we wrote it out, and years later, we would continue to look at it, continue to pour over it, over and over again, and continue to perfect it. And it defined who we were. And when there was splits, when there was mutiny, when there were challenges, the mission statement was our true north, our compass that kept us on the right path when everybody else wanted to go secular or this or that. I was able to say, no, this is our mission. This is what we all agreed on. This is where we're going. I'm in Los Angeles right now, kind of locked down. We went from, Lord have mercy. Yeah, we went from quarantine to curfew, and it's been a challenge. But let's say someday when Vegas is opened back up, we decide to go to Vegas, right? Well, if we started walking there, and if in the first few steps, I were to just take the person walking there and just move their shoulders that much, one step to the right, doesn't matter how long that person would walk, doesn't matter how far that person would walk, Hey, Connor. That person would probably end up in Yuma, Arizona, and not in Las Vegas, Nevada. And the reason being is that the trajectory that you're on ultimately determines your destination, not your intentions, but your direction you're going. And the mission statement is the direction. Avion, what are your thoughts on mission statement?
I think it's your foundation. It's like a map that you have to stick to, because when you can on the path you can either drift this way or drift this way, but when you have that foundation, you keep steady.
It allows you to course correct. I was talking yesterday with Torie. Is Torie here? If so, if she could join us visually as well, that would be great. I was talking with Torie yesterday about, there she is. Hey, Torie.
Hey.
We were talking yesterday about the flight plan. So I was saying that essentially the manager is the pilot, and they're provided with the flight plan. And then sometimes, hopefully, the artist is the co-pilot, or at least a stewardess, steward, a flight attendant, if you will. But they're probably not just along for the ride; they're working too. The leaders should be doing that. And the most important thing, though, is that flight plan. You want to talk more about that and how that mission statement is crucial in that?
The flight plan, that's actually like the destination, or the ultimate goal would be the flight plan. I think the mission statement is what drives you, or drives the whole band, or drives you individually. It's also the place that I focus on, no matter what I do, reaching the lost at any cost, or making disciples of all nations.
And when we post stuff on social media, we filter everything through that.
Yes.
Are we doing that? Is that who we are saying we are? Because we shouldn't just say it; we should do it. So that's crucial. It's the fuel. I like that. That's a neat way to bring it across. So yeah, we share that mission statement, and we have 2 mission statements. Actually, 3 if you really study it. The first one is the external mission statement. For instance, we do chicken right with using 21 herbs and spices. That's kind of the external mission statement of KFC. And then the internal mission statement would involve the excellence, the washing your hands, the greeting people with a smile, the customer service, the customer's always right, things like that. That would be the internal mission statement. And then we have a third one, and that for us is the contract that individuals in the band sign and commit to for a season. And we typically do that for a year. We used to do that for 6 months, but we found that it took about 6 months to find somebody. And it was people were always thinking, should I quit now? Should I quit now? And it wasn't an easy thing. So the internal mission statement is what you will and won't do. For instance, for us, we won't smoke pot. We won't use drugs. We won't get drunk. We won't sleep around. We won't even be alone in the room with somebody of the opposite sex unless they are an immediate family member. Not even another band, a guy and a girl in the band can't be alone in the room. That was inspired by the Modesto Manifesto that Billy Graham wrote, that Saddleback Church now uses, and we use as well. So that's the no porn, the no sleeping outside of marriage, no this, no that. That's the internal, what you will and won't do. Then there's the external mission statement, which is who you are, why you do it, and maybe possibly how you do it. It shouldn't be longer than a few sentences. But I would strongly recommend, as a band leader, you can't lead people if they're all pulling in opposite directions. We talked about being equally yoked, and what happens if you both have these wood things around your neck and 2 people walk in opposite directions? What happens?
Oh, you choke the other one out.
You choke the other one out,
Each other out.
Or you choke each other out, or somebody's dragging somebody. Yeah. And as a leader, you shouldn't be forcing people to do that. You should be and gently nudging and encouraging. What do you guys think?
Definitely. Gently nudging.
Gently nudging and encouraging. And one of the challenges as a leader is, I was wrestling with this as I was tossing and turning, trying to not wake up this morning too early, but this message was going through my head. Essentially, you're trying to get people to do something that they wouldn't normally be doing on their own. Yeah. You know, they may be playing electric guitar solos to Led Zeppelin on their own, but now you're getting them to play a song that has already been recorded for your band, your way, or the album way, not necessarily their way. Or you're getting them to, I mean, nobody in the band was thinking, hey, let's take an entire month and let's teach 40 classes. I came up with that crazy idea. And 51 of you who are watching right now, 82 that were watching just an hour ago, are the fruit of that. But the hard work and the toil, the thorns, the thistles, that's what a leader has to go through, and what the followers of the leader have to go through. I think that respect is a foundation. Yeah. Would you agree?
Yes.
Yes.
What are some other things we can glean from our... Now, I'm asking these guys here because I don't lead by myself. I am the leader, and there are times where I just decide something and we go, but I still don't do that without running it by them. And sometimes they agree and sometimes they disagree. And if they disagree, I really consider that, because God gives guys impulses and God gives girls antennas.
Yeah.
I just made that up. Please, Torie, put that down as a quote.
Oh my gosh.
God gives a man impulse and he gives a woman antennae. And right. Yeah, the compass that I use isn't the same compass that women use. Mm-hmm. And I am a passionate leader. We can do it, eternally optimistic. And then there's the others in my life, I won't point fingers, that may lead towards realism. I may say pessimism, but that'll throw a huge wet blanket of reality on things sometimes. So writing out that statement is crucial. When I brought it up to the band, and they know that our mission is to make disciples, and I said, hey guys, this is the deal. We can't go and preach the gospel. We're preaching the gospel from here with music videos. We're preaching the gospel from here with like the resurrection service and things like that. But one of our things is to make disciples, and maybe God doesn't just want us to teach people the Bible, but all the other things we've learned as musicianaries. I don't know many musicianaries. How many do you know, Torie?
Only know you guys.
Exactly. So we're kind of a rare breed. Right now, there's about 54 musicianaries watching this, or potential people who are like, hey, I want to do this for the Lord. How do I do this? And so we wanted to show you, there's a lot of classes you can take, a lot of books you can read on leadership, but we're going to be bringing it from a different perspective. Amen. So let me just briefly go through my understanding of leadership. My dad has been a great leader in my life, and he's been to the point, he's been exacting. It wasn't always the easiest to have that, but that taught me to be a perfectionist. In Boy Scouts, he was the scoutmaster. I learned in Boy Scouts when I came in, I was a little kid, a pipsqueak, and then you join a patrol, and then eventually you become an assistant patrol leader, and then a patrol leader, and then eventually I became chaplain. My dad was scoutmaster, and then you move on up to maybe assistant scoutmaster. So it teaches you leadership among ranks, something that you would get in the military. But there's certain things with leadership in the military that I just don't like. Calling people names, breaking them down to nothing, and then building them back up in your image. I am not a big fan of that. because I think you shouldn't break people down to nothing. I think quite honestly, tours do that already on their own. I think you need to build them up. So I like to use it like a tent pole. Okay. Now, when I was a kid, my dad had this big parachute, right? And we could make a teepee tent out of that parachute if we put up one pole, right? No. If we put up two poles, right? No. If we put up three poles, kind of. No. But when you got into 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 poles, now all of a sudden all the poles are leaning in. But you know what is still really, really needed is that center pole. That center pole in many ways is the leader. The one that really shouldn't be falling or wavering. And that center pole is grounded in the Word of God, grounded in prayer, grounded in the Lord, grounded in the vision and mission that he literally, when he or she, when they are cut, they bleed the vision and mission. So I went on from leading in Boy Scouts to leading in a gang, to leading as a drug dealer, to coming to Christ, and leading as a discipleship leader. I didn't set out to be the leader of a band. God gave me a song. I sung it. Everybody said, I love it. I joined this band, backed me. And then eventually they said, hey, you know what? You need to do this on your own. We're not a reggae band. So then I had to build up this band. Started off with friends. They learned how to play instruments. I will say it's easier to teach somebody an instrument than it is to change their attitude. And then we moved from that to more professional musicians. That caused a host of other problems because though they knew reggae, they didn't always know Jesus as intimately as we'd hoped. And they got their understanding of reggae by playing in bars. And so discipleship was a big missing element. I could give you story after story of what people like to glaze over as moral failure, of circumstances where I would find out that somebody was living in sin. So when people say, hey, let's go back to those old days of this band with this lineup, I'll be like, oh, that was a nightmare. And not to mention, I was the youngest guy in the band. I started it. And there were times where band members were 15 or so years older than me. And they're like, who is this 20-year-old or this 22-year-old trying to tell me as a 44-year-old how to do something? There's a Bible verse that speaks to that, and it says, don't let anyone look down on you because you're young, but set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, the way you conduct yourself, in love, in faith, and in purity. Perhaps somebody can type that in the chats. It is 1 Timothy 4, verse 12. 1 Timothy 4:12, if somebody wants to put that there. It is possible to lead a band as the youngest member. I did it. Mm-hmm. But it was not easy. Not easy in the slightest bit. And eventually there was a mutiny that took place where the vast majority of the band, maybe 80% of the band, met behind my back and said, we want more money. We want to go secular. We want to stop talking about Jesus. We want Mark to stop preaching the gospel. And we want to change all this. And then I came into the manager's office one day. I got punked. I was like, whoa, what are you guys all doing here? Usually they're never around the manager. They're never involved at all. I had to do all that. I did all the booking. I dealt with all the manager. I led the band. And I remember at that time, I counted up how much work I was doing for a month and how much I was getting paid. And they wanted me to get less. And my salary was 5 cents an hour at that time. When I counted how many hours I worked versus how much I got, it averaged 5 pennies. That's a lot of hours to make a buck. And they were like, they were the bad thing. And then this mutiny caused a split. Ultimately, that split, those guys cannibalized each other, started kicking out the lead vocalist, kicking out the drummer, kicking out this, kicking out that, and there was nobody left standing. Too many cannibals devour one another. I sang about that in a song. Surrounded by the enemy in this valley of decision. I sang about that. It was a tough time. And then I had to lead a band, and I had a concert coming up. These guys had promised that they were going to give me 6 months, and then all of a sudden they said, you know what, we're out. You have 3 days till the next show to come up with a band. That was when I really had to tighten up my bootstraps and lean in. I could have collapsed and just canceled the show, but that wasn't the mission statement. So within 3 days, God provided an entirely new band. It was the Soulfire crew. We did Word, Sound, and Power together. And some would argue that it was the best of Christafari. God provided. And over the years, I've seen members come and go. I remember one of the guys from the old team said, Mark, don't look at it as a band, look at it as a mission team. He said, the mission stays the same. The members may change, the leader stays the same. But, you know, a church may go to, let's say, Honduras every year. It's not the same people every single time, but the mission stays the same. The experience is a little different because the people change, but the mission stays the same. So stay on mission. And then a few years ago, God gave me downloaded this new vision. Hey, we're going to officially disband Christafari, he said. Ask people to come on as full-time missionaries. What did you think when I said that, Avi?
Oh, me personally, I was like, finally, let's do this. You know, that's what I always wanted to do. So I was.
You know what led to that?
Excited about
One of the things that led to that was on that tour. We were promised we were in Melanesia. We were promised to have all of our expenses covered by the promoter. And Torie's laughing. She's like, I know this one. I know where this one's going. I've seen this book too many times. I've read this one. We were promised to get all of our flights. Now, New Caledonia was a lot of money to get out there. The flights alone were $20,000. We were doing, I think, 5 or 7 shows out there. So I think we were going to get like $25,000, which sounds incredible. But when you consider that I have to pay each band member $100 a show. There's 12 of us. We're doing that many shows. We're going to lose money. But when we arrived there and we had bought the tickets in advance, trusting they were going to pay for them, and we were told we weren't going to get anything, or maybe $1,000 or $2,000. Yeah, that was a real challenge for me, and I had to keep my word. I told the whole band, I'm paying you no matter what. Don't worry about it. I'm paying you no matter what. Don't worry about it. I had to do that many times in Brazil. I think we did probably 8 tours in a row where we were upside down by $10,000 for Brazil. Mm-hmm. And the manager got paid. The booking agent got paid. Every band member got paid. And we had to come up with a creative way to get that money. I never stiffed anybody. You are only as good as your word if you're a band leader. Don't ever go back on your word. If there's a time when you feel you promised something and you can't do it because of extraneous circumstances, at that point, you need to really pray about keeping your word and letting your yes be yes regardless. A righteous man keeps his word even when it hurts. But if you absolutely can't keep it, at that point, you go to that person, you ask them to relieve you from that commitment, saying, I will do it anyways, but if you will please prayerfully consider relieving me, releasing me from that commitment, I would appreciate it. If they say, no, I won't release you, you do it. You pay, you do this, you do that. If they say yes, you still try and make them right. Any thoughts on that, Torie?
Yes. Your word is your bond. And I guess it comes up to integrity too as well. Because if they can't trust, it's also, if they can't trust what you say, how are they going to trust you in future times? Yeah. So that's the credibility of it.
Yeah, trust is absolutely crucial. in all of this, if they don't trust you, I don't really think that there's much that can be fixed there. I will say that one of the things I've been saying time and time again in these classes is there's no easy button. This is the hardest job you'll do and the most thankless. You'll get the greatest amount of opposition. Well, think about what Moses did. Think about the opposition he got. My gosh. You're essentially getting people to do things that they normally wouldn't. And this is why I believe Jesus, when he was praying, he so feverishly prayed that the disciples would be separated? No. That they would be one. And that's what the word band means. We band together. We come together. Anybody want to add anything on that one?
Well, yeah, you become a family, and it comes back to love and respect, and the natural thing as a leader, what you want to do is like, you're fine, you know. But as if you look at them as your brother, your sister, your child, you know, that, but in that relationship, you have the extra love, the extra patience, the respect, and you know, yeah. So it band coming together, family unit, basically.
I like that family analogy because you don't fire a family member. Well, you shouldn't. Some people do. I mean, some people do.
Eventually, if you know, if they're out of hand, you have to make that hard decision.
Yeah.
But the natural first instinct, if you don't have that connection with them, you know, you do that. But when you have that family connection, you try to work things out. You try to, you know, find ways around it. But
Yeah.
as I say, some family members, you just gotta you just gotta say, here's the door.
You've had a fair share of that, Avion. I remember there was a time when I was watching her band, her family band. There was certain individual or individuals. It's a large group, so nobody's going to know who I'm talking about. But they were just very argumentative.
Yeah.
Like over and over and over again. And my joke would be that they would get together for an argument, and every once in a while, a band practice would break out. They would get together for a band practice, and an argument would break out. It was just always.
Example.
It was always an argument.
It was a good example of the leadership wasn't there anymore.
Yeah, your dad had gone. The leadership wasn't there. There has to be somebody, even within a family, who calls the shots. It's typically the dad and the mom, or the dad. And when the dad's gone, it's the mom. And if it's not the mom, or the mom's gone, it's the eldest or the person. But it doesn't have to be that way. I do think that something that we need to, when I said respect, in Trinidad they have this thing, you respect your elders, right? And so you should treat someone above you like you would a mother, a father, a grandpa or grandma, an aunt or an uncle. In Hawaii, they say auntie and uncle. Respect your elders. And if you're younger than you should treat them as a child.
Right.
You should treat them as a child or as a younger sibling. And maybe that's a problem for you because you don't treat your siblings nice. But here's the thing about children, okay? You ready? Here's some parental advice. Every kid wants to know two things. Am I loved? Can I have things my way? Every drummer wants to know two things. Am I loved? Can I have things my way? Every bassist, every this, every that. And the answer, if the answer is yes to both, you're screwed. If the answer is no to both, you're double screwed. It's not a good thing. So part of it is learning to compromise, not in a sinful way. Part of it is dying to yourself. Tell us the importance of that, Torie.
Dying to self. I guess so. I do that a lot. Die to self. I guess in order for there to be understanding, have understanding, and to hear each other's mutual respect and of each person in the band, you have to die to self, because to keep your flesh from rising, because that's when your feelings and your emotions get out of hand. So if you die to self and you just focus on God and the mission and just, hearing the whole situation, kind of like, you see things tunnel vision, just having the bigger picture helps a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're living for God and we're living for others. Our goal is to put others before ourselves. It's not an easy thing. And this kind of submission, I really believe it's similar to a marital submission.
Yes.
And we talked about this in our podcast on relationships. Is, the guy wants to say, hey, woman, the Bible says submit. And the next verse says, and the man should love her like Christ loves the church. What did Christ do for the church? He died for the church. So the woman could reply, when the man says submit, the woman could say, die. And I don't think either should be shouted out to each other. I think there should be this mutual submission and respect, though. But somebody still needs to have the final decision. And it's not an easy thing to have that on your shoulders. Here's a quote that I learned a few years ago that I try to remember regularly. It's, I give up all my expected rights so that others' needs would be met. And that's the mark of not just a leader, but a servant leader. Jesus showed us how to lead by washing feet, by dying to himself. I give up my expected rights, what I believe I deserve, so that others' needs would be met. In our band, we've had the privilege of having it pretty peaceful. For the most part, I can't think in the last 20 years when a band member has cussed somebody out, shouted at somebody, yelled at somebody. I can't think of a moment where two people hated each other and continued to tour together. That kind of animosity, just, there's no place for that. If you find that, if you see that over and over again, you need to cut off that part. When we buy fresh fruit and you get a whole batch of strawberries and the one in the center is just covered in blue mold, do you leave it in the fridge? Or do you take that one out and wash the ones that were next to it? If you don't take that one out, the whole batch is going to go bad. And sometimes you need to do that. There have been times where I've held on to people for too long. If anything, that's one of my problems, my wife would say. Would you agree, Torie? We have a counselor that the band goes to, and then everybody gets counseled from, and she'd be telling me, you need to fire this person, but I see the best in them. I see the potential. Like, you need to fire this person. You're spending too much of your resource ministering internally that it's affecting your external, your outward ministry. And so, being a peacemaker doesn't always mean just biting your tongue. If your tongue is bloody, so much so that you can't speak or sing anymore, there's a problem. Anybody want to add anything to that?
Yeah, you have to know when to draw the line. And, as I say, you have to know when to kick that family member out.
When to kick that family member. Know when to say when.
Yes. It's like dominoes,
Dominoes, yeah.
It affects everything, the dynamics of everyone, and then it starts brewing up a poison, start going around when that one person is not, some people they just got to move on, and you have to know how early to cut it off. You can try different things, and you see that it's not working out. You have to move on, and though it hurts because it is a family member.
And when you do that, you need to do it in a biblical way. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking of somebody, and I won't mention their name, but with 30 years, you wouldn't be able to guess right anyways with the amount of band members that we've seen over the amount of tours. But this person was just on point 85 to 95% of the time, doing great. But those other times they were digging and cutting and saying negative things against the leadership, negative things about us, and saying them to others, so much so that others were coming back to me saying, hey, this is a problem. And I'll be like, no, it's not. And they're like, no, we're telling you this person needs to go. And so what we do is we go and I meet with that person privately, and I go through Matthew 24. Write that down in the chat. Matthew 24, how to rebuke. The word rebuke means to encourage in love, and to encourage in love means that you're pushing them lovingly in the right direction. Some people think rebuke is like you got a machete and you're cutting things off. No. Think of it more like pruning. You prune a bush and it grows in the right direction, but you have to cut off those dead branches. And rebuking is more like that. You're helping it so that it can grow where it is planted, bloom where it's planted. So first, if they don't receive that, now if they say I'm sorry, I'm wrong, and they try and we see that effort, not a problem. But if they need a second rebuke, it's usually because the first time they don't acknowledge that they're even wrong, they're even in sin. And that's when you bring in witnesses. And then the final one is when you bring in a pastor. And if they still don't realize that they're wrong, you got to let them go. And then you have to write out immediately after you let them go what it would take for them to come back in. Because you're going to start forgetting all those bad things. You're going to start remembering all those good times. And you're going to find yourself just like that girl who broke up with the guy 5 times in 1 year. Each breakup gets worse. It's not good. So you write out, this person upon coming back will need to have shown this, will need to be now doing this. This will need to be different. We won't do this anymore. We will only do this, And so I remember there was a time after the band split when most everybody came back to me at one time or another saying, can I come back in? And I would ask them those questions and they never met their criteria. And one time after asking those questions and them not meeting the criteria, one of the main guys ripped me a new one. He went off on me on the phone, practically cussing me out. I'm like, oh, wow, I really dodged a bullet. Now it's like Matrix. I'm like, I really made the right decision. So, yeah, I think that there's something to be said about rebuking, encouraging in love, and ultimately guiding them. But if it doesn't work, you need to know when and how to cut it off, for the sake of the other band members as well. Mm-hmm. And here's another question: who is the one person, or the two, or the few that if everybody else left, it would still be that band? And who, if that person went, it would no longer be the band? If you can figure out who that person is, chances are they're the leader, or at least they're the key element in that leadership in one way or another. So I try to find that when I talk to different band members. I remember when Toby Mack came to my house, we were going over songs for Soulfire, and after everything was done and we were leaving, I remember exactly where I was standing when he told me this. He said, Mark, pulls me aside. He says, you're the leader of the band. No matter what happens, you retain ownership of the band. You are Christafari. And I'm like, huh? Then he looks me right in the eyes. He's like, Mark, you are Christafari. A few weeks later or months later, the band insisted that we sign a partnership agreement. And I made sure that I put in there that if anything happens, I own the name. And the name is worth $1. I started the band long before these guys came on. I asked each one of them to join. And if somebody left, chances are it was because I had them go. So who owns the name? And if everybody leaves but one person, is it still the band? I think let's take it back to our drummer from 15 years ago, 20 years ago. If everybody leaves but him, is it still Christafari? No. But 20 years ago, if everybody leaves but me, which is what happened, is it still Christafari? Yeah, it may not be your favorite Christafari from Soulfire or Valley Decision days, but I'm keeping this machine well oiled. It's moving forward.
Because it's more than the people, it's the vision.
It's the vision. I remember years later, one of the guys who caused the split, I saw him on a plane. It was awkward. I'm like, oh, this is weird, man. And he comes up to me and he's like, hey, Mark, I just want to say, thank you for all the work you did for the band over the years. I never appreciated it before. I'm so grateful for it now. I had to do all that work. We started this band without you, and we thought it was going to be super easy. And it was the hardest thing we've ever done. And, of course, they quit. They stopped doing it. But he's like, man, you did a lot of work. I'm thinking back to the 5 cents an hour. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm still doing a lot of work now. And there were times where we got down to where we had no manager, where we had a few band members, and I had to record an album by myself. Now I have my wife. We have an incredible manager. But it was nice to hear those words. I wish I'd heard them earlier. So it will be thankless. Tyrone pulled me aside. He played with us for 9 years, still plays in the studio with us. Great brother. Pulled me aside. I said, well, so what are you doing? This was during our recent recording session. He's like, I'm booking and managing bands. Torie laughs. And Tyrone can do it, right? Tyrone can, because Tyrone toured with us like crazy. And he's like, hey, Mark, I got to tell you, man, I'm sorry for all the stuff I put you through over the years. I didn't realize how hard this stuff was. I didn't realize how hard it was to deal with all these different opinions. And he's working with like an artist or maybe like 2 people. And we had like 12 opinions. Okay, this is a very frank thing. I'm going to try and say it in a way that won't be taken against me. Opinions are like derrieres, are like butts, the stinky part of the butt. Everybody has one, just like everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a butt. Everybody has one. Opinions are like butts. Everybody has one. And everybody thinks that everybody else's opinion stinks. Everybody else's butt or fart stinks, but not theirs. And that's what it's like sometimes being a band leader, is that everybody else is right. And it's not easy. I remember one time with the old lineup, I won't tell you which guys, I mentioned some lapses, and everybody was over 21. We had all decided, and it was in our mission, nobody was going to drink on tour or do anything like that, or just drink, period. And we pulled into the hotel, and then I saw the guys drive off, and I'm like, And then as I'm walking from my hotel room just down to get some water or something, I walk by and a room is open, a crack. And they had come back, and they'd come back with some drinks. And this was decades ago, but it still stings today. It still hurts today. They weren't just drinking alcohol. They were talking all kinds of crap about me. It broke my heart. Here I am, the youngest guy trying to lead this band. And people were talking crap about me. And it hurts. At that point, you may be driven to alcohol. I was driven to the payphone. You remember those? Putting a lot of quarters in and calling up my road pastor. And then he quoted me that passage where Jesus prayed that his disciples were one. And we weren't. And I now realize that we weren't one because we didn't share the same vision, the same mission. So those are some things that anybody want to add anything to that? Torie or Abby?
No, it comes back to vision and mission, and also respect. and the definition of respect is, I guess, due regard for the feelings, wishes, rights, traditions of others, a feeling of deep admiration for someone or something, excited by their abilities, qualities, or achievements. So in that way, you need people coming in with the admiration of your vision.
Yeah.
And when someone is admiring the vision, they want to see that vision grow, and not, if you have somebody come in with, I want to get somewhere in life, I want to do this, I want to do that, then you have this pulling and tugging. But when we all come with the same vision and mission, it move forward, and then you have a leader who God, I don't think me personally, you personally would choose a leadership position. It's, God put you in that position, and God gives you the vision, and people that comes in needs to grow this together.
Yeah.
So that's where the respect comes in.
I've consistently I've been put into that leadership position. Like even when I'm on jury duty, they're like, they pick me. I'm like, no, don't pick me. And then they're like, we want you to be the leader. I'm like, I just can't get out of it. But yeah, that mutual respect is crucial. Who owns the name is a crucial one. Who brings about the vision and mission? It was me. It always has been. Who is the backbone? Obviously, God should be the answer to all of these. But at the same time, God still uses a person. For instance, we think the best way for a church to be set up is you have the pastor, you have the elders, the deacons, the this, the that, and everybody is involved and everybody's working equally. But it rarely happens that way. You see Paul dealing with conflicts with those churches time and time again. And for me, my favorite style of leadership is the Moses style, where it's a guy and one or two others, maybe three with Joshua, that are kind of like under him and or by his side, holding up his arms, helping. But God still, even though Moses is like, no, let my brother speak. I can't speak. Who does the speaking? Mm-hmm. Moses does. And so I think that some of the best leaders are reluctant. But that Moses style, the Mosaic style, is more my style within Christafari. Here's this Bible verse that I love, Micah 6:8. He has shown the old man, and I'm an old man now, I can say that, what is good and what the Lord requires of you, or of thee, is to do justly, to love mercy, and to walk humbly with our God. To do justly, respect people equally. Love mercy. Mercy is when God withholds wrath from you and gives you love instead. And to walk humbly with our God. Humility is the hardest thing for a leader to have, especially if they're on stage and they're the focal point of the band. But it's something that they need to not think that their poop smells good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They need to not think that.
Take into consideration everyone's. You said about opinions. We take into consideration, other people's opinions, because sometimes they're valid.
They're very valid.
Very valid.
Yeah, I want to hear those things. Yeah. In fact, I make our decisions by being informed by those opinions. Mm-hmm. And especially, it's not sustainable if you're making somebody do something that they don't want to do long term. Mm-hmm. And so their opinion does matter, but if I took it back to, some churches have it in such an upside down way where the people who make the decisions aren't the pastor. They decide what he speaks on, how long he speaks for, whether he's doing a good job or not. And who's the conduit here? Is the pastor the conduit from God? Or is it's just a weird thing? Are they just puppeteers or control freaks? Imagine if we went with a unanimous decision or a democratic decision when 8 band members say, hey, we're going secular. If we had that kind of way set up, or even the way set up like it is in the New Testament for the church, we voted and we're going this way. If that was the case, Christafari, I wouldn't be preaching the gospel from stage. We wouldn't see 200 some odd thousand decisions for Christ last year. And so at some time you have to be true to the mission statement and not necessarily true to the democratic way. But you don't want to be a tyrant. You don't want to be a dictator. You need to lovingly lead and urge from behind.
And as a leader, you need to seek a lot of counsel.
Oh, so true.
Beyond 3 of us, we have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have at least 4 other people that we go to after we talk amongst each other.
Yeah,
we still have a bunch of other people out who's not even in the band.
Yeah, I go through for a big decision. I will go through my mom, my dad. Oh, their wisdom is priceless. Especially my dad. I'll ask him. He'll tell me once, and then I'll ask him 5 different ways, and he'll be, I told you already. You need to let them go. Cut it off. Torie, Avion are the first go-tos. Mom, Dad, Gwyn Lewis, who's the head of Sowers, a former major leader in Sowers, Craig Kelford. Justin is my right hand, absolutely. Nikita is a huge one that we go through. We really, really respect her wisdom. Former band members, Casey, we like to go to. Jabby, who toured with us for years, we like to go to. And then beyond that, there's Pastor Bob, and then there's whoever I happen to be around. So a wise man seeks the counsel of many. Anybody, if they want to go to war, before they go to war, they seek counselors to make sure that they can even win. So those are so crucial. Anything you want to add to that, Torie?
Yeah, I like we implemented like some years back when we used to tour the Moons and Stars.
Stars and Moons. Tell us about that.
Well, we came upon this on our first mission trip where we had other people besides band members join us, which was in Central America. And, after each place, what's the highlight of this place we ministered at, or of this country, or of that ministry event we did, and what was the low point? And so everybody had a chance to share. It's like a debriefing. So that's where a lot of like our wisdom, or we're not wisdom, but all having the band members come together and share as a whole how they feel about situations. And so now Mark always, after every place, usually on long bus rides or
sometimes daily.
Airplane rides, we have to write, what is our focal point, what was the highlight or the downside to each place. And so that really helps too a lot. I really enjoyed that. And also in and during a period of Christafari when we were having some rifts, and we RJ Strickland and his dad came on board, and we did the personality test so we could better understand each person, each personality, what they brought to the table. That really helped a lot. So
a lot.
Huge.
Yes.
Yeah, some brilliant stuff in there. Anything you want to add to that? Listening for me is a crucial thing. So the Stars and Moons. So this is how it is. And this is something we were encouraged to do with our daughter as well. At the end of each day, I'm looking at her in the backyard playing right now. At the end of each day, we would say, what was your favorite thing about today? and just listen. What was something that you didn't like too much or made you sad or unhappy or hurt? And then we listen, and the toughest thing is to just shut up. To a solution that says that isn't really a problem, that says that isn't really an issue, or minimizes the impact of that on her life. Listen, and then pray it out. And so we try and do that amongst the band on almost a daily basis on tour when we can. And it helps immensely, because otherwise they bottle it up, it ferments, it becomes bitter, they become bitter, and it spreads. But if they know that somebody else is, when they say that and then somebody else starts crying and says, me too, and then they're hugging each other, and all of a sudden they feel better the next day.
Yep, exactly.
So it helps, and it also, we also do that at the end of each tour. Say, what was the worst show? And then we ask, worth it or not? Weigh those on a scale. Best, worst. Which one's heavier? And so far, everybody keeps saying the best outweighs the worst. Mm-hmm. But when they don't, they go. Yeah. That's just how it is. Anything you want to add to that, Avi?
Well, I don't know if it's related. I don't know if it's related, but one thing we try to encourage too is not to talk behind.
Yes.
Yeah, talk behind
no talking behind people's backs.
Yeah. And we try to encourage people to, hey, if someone, because we're human beings, some people fall into it, to come out and say, hey,
murmuring.
Yes, because when it stays that way, the devil uses that to create division and dissension amongst each other.
Yeah.
So we try to encourage to come to face with that person and talk things out.
Yeah. Justin's right here right now. He's about ready to join us and tell us what he says when somebody is complaining and somebody says they have an issue or something. If he's around, is Justin here? Justin?
Yeah, I'm here.
What do you say when a band member starts itching with the bee, if you know what I mean? Starts complaining, starts murmuring. What do you say to them if they have a problem with what we're doing or how we're doing it?
Well, there's actually two things I say. One of them is communication is key, and I say that in every aspect of life. But when it comes back to the band, I say talk to Mark and Avi, because we can spend all day talking about fill in the blank behind their backs, but why not take it on head on and handle the situation? And it may be awkward or weird, but at least we're getting the situation figured out and cleaned up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm so grateful you do that, because when you do that, I think sometimes you even go as far as saying, hey, if it's something serious that you found out, hey, I'm going to give you 24 hours, but if you don't go to them, I'm going to have to go to them and tell them.
Yeah.
Because this needs to come to light. And then every once in a while, I'll be in the pool with you or something after a long day, and you're like, hey, have you talked to so-and-so? And I'm looking at your face, and I know what you're asking. You're asking if we had that talk yet. Because if not, you know it's got to come to light. Yeah, it would kind of be likened to somebody as Moses is heading up the hill. He'd be like, hey, dude, you may want to look at the gold deposits that somebody's burning down, because I think they may be making a calf, and there could be a problem when you get back.
Mark, can I share something too?
Go for it, please do.
In many situations when stuff is about to go down, I would say, or whatever, Mark and Avion, even though we're in a similar age bracket, there is a mutual, I don't know. There are the leaders, but they're also, I respect Mark. He is our pastor. And so, and that's the pastor's wife. And so in the Bible, it says, you respect your pastor. So when it comes down to it, even though you might agree to disagree, that is your pastor. So he's like, to respect it on a different level. So that's helped me in many.
Yeah, that's so true. What you brought up there is
Yeah.
I mean, we've had an issue with someone that we had to let go one time.
Yeah.
And it brought down to that when we asked them.
Yeah, you're not my pastor.
Yeah.
Is what that person exactly said.
So that's when we realized, okay, the respect is not there.
Okay, yeah.
That's the root of it. So that's a great point that you said there.
Yeah. Definitely some wisdom there. Yeah, this type of stuff, you guys, if you're called to be a leader, I wish I could say that I didn't have it, but sometimes I have the spiritual gift of worrying. It's not a gift, it's a curse. My mom has it. If I mention something to her like, oh yeah, my friend just lost a job, she won't sleep that night. She'll be tossing and turning, and she'll come in the studio at like 3 a.m. saying, I thought about this solution to your friend's problem with the job. And that's what I'm like. So here's what happens. Oh my gosh. How many times has this happened? I don't know. Biggest show of the year. A drama hits from a band member. The devil's busy. He wants to take that weak link and he wants to break it and get me focused on something else other than sleeping, getting the vocal rest I need, preparing my mind for the sermon I'm going to give tomorrow or the gospel presentation. It happens time and time and time again. I can think of one band member, I won't say that person's name, but you guys know who I'm talking about. I probably lost a total of 50 nights of sleep in my life over that person. And if that person only knew how much of a wedge they were continually creating, it was so expect to deal with some sleeplessness if you are a band leader. Here are some other things that I want to encourage you with. Is it a sole proprietorship or a partnership? Decide that, figure out the structure now, not later. Christafari is a sole proprietorship. It's a DBA. We own the name Christafari. We lead it as a mission, as a ministry team would, kind of like a pastor of a small church plant would. Who is in financial control and how are the finances split? Be careful as the leader not to have somebody else control the finances. You have to have oversight with that in one way or another. We have oversight through sowers, through Gwen Lewis, through our CPA, through my parents, through each other, and select members. It's not an easy thing, but you need to make sure that somebody doesn't do what has been done to us. I mentioned it yesterday. We got about $30,000 stolen from us. It happens, and it wasn't immediate. It was over a few years. Trust me, we didn't have that money laying around, but it was just being siphoned off slowly. And so how the finances are split and who has control of that is crucial. Another one, who decides who comes in or out? Who has that power? I'm pretty much the one person in the band where when I meet that person, I say you're in or you're out. I usually have the in and out conversations, but I try not to make that decision on my own. I try to bounce it off of people that have a different personality than me, and these two have a very different personality than me. So that's crucial as well. Lead by example. Titus 2:7 says this. Titus 2:7. Somebody put that in the chat. And you yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness of your teaching. Integrity, seriousness, self-discipline. That character is crucial in all of this. And then here's another encouragement, and I kind of alluded to it earlier. Remember this. When you're bringing somebody in or out, can they do the job? Will they do the job? Is it a good fit? Are they a good fit? Ask those 3 questions. My dad has encouraged me this 1,000 times. Can do, will do, fit. A lot of people can do it, but doesn't necessarily mean they will or that they're a good fit. A lot of people will do it, but doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good fit. There has to be all 3. Listen to me very carefully. You can teach someone instruments. You can teach someone a task. But teaching them character, teaching them self-discipline. Can I be frank? Teaching them not to be an absolute idiot is a lot harder to teach and a lot slower to learn. So if you pick people with the right heart, the skill set will follow. And you'll go a lot further and last a lot longer. We just had Nikita learning bass. We would have never hired her as a bassist having never played bass before. But now she's playing bass, and maybe someday there will be a time when Avion never plays bass on stage again, and Nikita is going to rise to being able to do the entire set. You can teach that skill set, but teaching that person to not be a nincompoop, a ninny, fill in the bad word, is a lot harder to teach. Here's another one. Oh, man. Memorize this one. Do everything without complaining and arguing. Everything you do, work at it with all of your heart as working for the Lord and not for man. As a band leader, people need to be reminded that they're doing this for God and not for you, and that you're not God. You're not God. And as a leader, you need to be reminded that you're not doing this for them to say, good job. Oh, I'm so proud of you. You're such a good leader. Good luck in getting that regularly. Anybody want to add anything to that? Torie, how about you? Any thoughts on this so far?
I know I shared a lot about that too in my class yesterday, about, everything that I do was unto the Lord. And that's where God requires you. And
Yeah.
I think, I didn't have the skill set too when when you met me in Hawaii. I've never managed a band in my life.
Yeah. Avion wasn't a reggae bassist. Avion was the most reluctant singer in her band. Every time a band member would say, sing a lead vocal, she'd be like, no, somebody else can. God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. We see that with Paul. We see that with King David. We see that with Moses and his speaking impediment. Yep. Okay, here's something that I wrote out. It is the hardest job in the band to lead it. In the same way, the hardest job is to be the U.S. president, let's say, right? At any given time, a president of the United States has half the nation hating him. Right? and that person still has to have the tenacity, the stick-to-itiveness, the I'm going to keep pushing through in love. Not all presidents do this, but you have to love and appreciate those who push back against you the most. Leading the band shouldn't be by decision, it should be by calling. Similar to how Moses was called, as I mentioned, similar to how Abraham was called. So keep that in mind, especially if you're dealing with voting and things like that. You have to consider the person that's voting. Is their heart right with God? And sometimes the people you want to kick out the quickest are the people that should stay in. I think of an artist that I counseled for some time. He had 2 band members struggling, one with porn and the other was like strip clubs. So much so that they came up to him and repented and asked forgiveness. They didn't get caught. They turned themselves in. A few years later, that guy kicked him out when he heard that. So now there's this guy who has these 2 Christians who are so close to God that they came and publicly repented. They left, and now he's by himself. And you can guess what happens to him when he's by himself. He now starts to weigh starts to sway and turn away. And when he did that, I genuinely believe that if those guys had been there, he wouldn't have drifted and he wouldn't have done that prodigal move. And so that's something that you can't, the one strike thing doesn't work if they have the right heart.
Yeah. And
go ahead.
You know, as I said before, as a leader, you have to really prayerfully go over situations and seek counsel, because your natural instinct sometimes, it's your natural human reactions. If you just go with whatever you feel at the moment, anger, whatever, you can make bad decisions. You have to really prayerfully seek counsel, pray over situations. You have to bring things to God, bring things to others, and really have a multiple of counselors as a band leader.
Yeah, there's constructive communication acronym. It's called think before you speak. T, is it true? So when somebody comes at you and they're lying to you, is it true? If which is what you're going to say true, or is it your opinion? Which is one of the reasons why I don't like it when people say, well, first of all, never use sarcasm when you're talking about somebody or to someone. Be true, be honest, be blunt with them. It's better than using sarcasm. But is what you're saying true? Next thing is H stands for, is it helpful? Is what you're saying literally constructive? Is it going to build them up, or is it hurtful? The I stands for, is it inspiring? N stands for, is it necessary? Oh, there's a lot of times I've wanted to say something, but it's just not necessary. And then the K stands for, is it kind? Going to say those again. Is it true? Before you say it, ask yourself, is it true? Is it helpful? Is it inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? I am frank. Sometimes I joke and I call myself Frank Blunt. I'm outspoken. I try to be open and sincere and candid. Candid is a good word to describe. And to be candid means to be free from reservation or disguise or subterfuge, to be straightforward, a candid opinion. It means to be informal. I'm very informal in how I lead. Sometimes a candid photo means how the person really is. It means to be honest. It means to be impartial. I try to lead like I have a very large farm and everybody is free range. Go as far as you want, eat whatever you want, do whatever you want, but stay within this fence. I am not the guy who will police a band member. Did you read today? Did you pray today? Show me your book. I want to hear your devotional. I want to this. I'm not that guy. If they have to rely on you to be fed and they're only being fed by you, when they leave the band, it's over. So I want to lead them to learn how to lead themselves. Teach them to learn how to teach themselves. Grow them to learn how to grow themselves. And ultimately, when they leave, to have them be disciple makers, not just disciples, but to make disciple makers. That is the goal, to make disciple makers. When you do this, guys, you will never stop working. You'll never work another day for the rest of your life, and you'll be working every single day for the rest of your life when you are a band leader. Take a day off from time to time. Vision cast and dream, and then try your best to relay that vision and how you came to that vision to others, and make sure that those others are equally yoked with you. If you have a non-Christian member, I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think you should have the ministry of internally trying to get somebody to be converted. I think you should be focusing externally, not internally. If they absolutely have to do a gig with you, I would not have them involved in decision making, and I would try to not have them ride or drive or spend a lot of time with band members unless it's the strongest band members you know. Any thoughts on that, guys?
Good.
I agree.
Otherwise, you could have mutiny. It's the law of gravity. It's easier for something to go down than it is for it to be picked up. And the same thing with people. So a chain is as strong as the weakest link. I remember in the story of Achan's sin. After they won the Battle of Jericho, they went over to a much smaller city. They were guaranteed victory, but they were told not to take loot, not to take any treasure. And they did anyways. Achan, one guy did. And because of that, the whole team lost. We've had band members on a tour, 51-day tour, 11 countries. Because of that one guy that wasn't really walking with God. He went to a Christian college, but he wasn't really walking with God. He got 3 other band members to quit. He almost got Jabby to quit. On the day that I was talking to Jabby and I said, let's go for a walk, I started to say, you're fired. Jabby said, hey man, I just want to apologize before you say anything. I'm really sorry about how I acted on this last tour. And Jabby was in the band for another 8 years after that, until with 2 kids and his in-laws coming in town, he couldn't stay. But I really respect the fact that he said that, and that he saw that he was being led astray. So yeah, don't try and win people from within. There was this Christian band, I think they're from Ireland. Oh man, everybody was Christian except for one guy. His name was The Edge. I think you can guess which band that is. And they ended up not being able to be a full-blown Christian band because one guy kept them back. They're a great band. He's a great player. I'm not saying that you two should have disbanded or should have kicked him out, but I'm just saying that one person can have a huge influence. And so which is more important for you? Here's some questions. Spiritual integrity or musical integrity?
Are you asking us? A lot of people.
Huh?
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Being professional on stage or having the right attitude all day long? I'll tell you which is easy to tour with. Mm-hmm. We always have the airplane seat decision. When we're about ready to hire somebody, do I want to be stuck on a plane next to him for 20 hours? Right? Oh man, if everybody loves him the way he or she plays, but they don't want to sit next to him, that person's out.
Yep.
Okay, what they do in the limelight, is that more important, or what they do behind closed doors when nobody else is looking? Might I add that the deeds done in darkness will come to the light? Satan is just waiting for when you get your Grammy for that to happen. Or for when you get that huge fame, and then all of a sudden, that's when the person comes out. I remember in Costa Rica, I'm seriously going to tell you some stories that I don't want you guys to be spreading out, but this is you need to understand that no band is perfect. So I was leading the band. We had only been to Jamaica to do like one show. And I'd been to Jamaica probably 12 times by this. We had done only the USA and Canada. And God finally said, it's time. I'm giving you the world. Costa Rica's first. We go to Costa Rica. It was a crucial time. There was a band member that was brought in for a tour. He played trumpet. I honestly don't even remember his name. Supposed Christian, dad's a pastor. But he decided to use some liberties, as he called it. And the hotel had a casino. So he decides to gamble in the casino. And somebody says, do you want a drink as he's gambling? He says, sure, I'll take some whiskey. Decides to have a drink. You want a cigar? Sure, I'll smoke a cigar. This girl comes next to him. He puts his arm around her. He's being a little too friendly with her. The promoter sees it. Matt, mind you, this guy's name isn't even on an album. This guy's face isn't in a band photo, but the promoter sees it. The promoter refuses to pay us. The promoter gets us banned from Costa Rica for some time. All because what one guy who was a fill-in player did. And that was the beginning of the split. I was saying, guys, we can't be doing this. We all signed this. We all agreed to this. And certain people are like, hey, man, a person can be a Christian and smoke. They won't send them to hell. They'll just smell like they went there. I'm like, no, that's not the point. A Christian can drink. Jesus drank. I'm like, that's not the point. Weaker brother principle. There's all these reasons why we don't do this. And there is a weaker brother principle, and there is the weak link principle. So keep that in mind as you're leading. Please learn from my mistakes. Rebuke, encourage in love, with an internal mission statement and an external mission statement. Give them a contract to sign. We had a band member who got in a car accident right before the tour, a day or two before the tour. Turns out he was drunk driving. That was a really tough one on that tour. We had a band member. I got a call from somebody. I'm like, who is this? And he's like, I'm a police officer. Oh, I'm like, oh no, what did I do? He's like, I'm a big fan of yours. I just need you to know that somebody's in the drunk tank right now saying that they were in Christafari, used to be in Christafari, and that's not the kind of evangelism that you want. Think before you hire somebody, man. What they're doing before they join the band is probably the best indication of what they'll do when they leave the band.
And even better now, we have Instagram.
Social media.
Torie, tell us what we do with that.
Well, before I joined Christafari, I was a librarian at research. So I'll be like, wait, let me look their Facebook page or Instagram page, because whatever they're posting about, it's documented for the world to see. So I even told that to my mom. Mom, go look them up.
Yep.
You can't hide that.
Yep. And that's something that we do when we don't just look back a week or two. We look back a few years, and we look back at who comments on their stuff, who their friends are.
Yep.
And if they're friending that person, and if they're dropping F-bombs left and right, we know that's going to happen on and off stage. That's not acceptable. Here's a promise to you as a leader. You will face drama. You will face opposition. I promise you this. Do everything within your power to make it so that opposition, that persecution, comes from outside of the band, not inside, so that you can band together. If it comes from within, it will tear you apart. Great example. If I had a mark right there, oh, that's cancer. Cut it off. Easy. If I had cancer inside a part of my body and didn't know about it, and it was growing and growing and growing, you can't cut out the insides of somebody when it starts to spread amongst all these different body parts. So that, look at it like that, see it like that when you're dealing with that. Satan ultimately wants you to be stolen from, be killed. He wants to kill this ministry. He wants to destroy your vision, your mission. If your vision and mission is in line with God's will. If it's not, you won't get much opposition. In fact, if it's in line with Satan's will, you'll probably get a lot of promotion. But it will not last, and it will not give you soul satisfaction. It will not win souls. If you're doing this for Jesus, understand the devil will try and stop you, try and break you up, trying to ruin your witness. Study and learn his playbook. Okay? Learn his playbook. Steal, kill, destroy. Can open it up for questions in 1 second. Before we do, go ahead and just write your questions there in the Q&A section. And I want to encourage you to take some of the other classes that we are teaching here. There's a bunch. Social media is probably a great one. But outside of this, as a band leader, you should take some English classes, maybe some poetry classes, some writing classes. You need to learn how to write well, because if you come across as uneducated, that would not be good. Have a band pastor, a spiritual accountability, a mentor, somebody pouring into you, somebody you are pouring into. Have a team of advisors. And now let's talk about differences, because this is going to be your biggest struggle. This, my friend, is the most important part of this conversation. You ready? The one thing I wish I learned so many years ago. 5 people, blindfolded, reaching and touching with their hands, feel 5 different things. It's a broom, one person says. It's a wall, one person says. It's a tree trunk, one person says. It's a giant leaf, somebody else says. It's a big snake. The person looking from afar, the advisor from afar, is not blindfolded. What do they see, Torie?
They see all different things.
They see that it's an elephant. They see it's an elephant. The tree trunk is the leg. The broom is the tail. The snake is the trunk. They see it's an elephant. Get that outside perspective. But you will have band members that swear to you all day long. No, it's just a tree. No, it's just a leaf. No, which would be the ear. So you need to basically celebrate each other's differences. You should probably take spiritual gifts tests to find out in what ways they are gifted. Celebrate each other's differences, okay? And see the potential in people and lovingly prompt them, encourage them to grow into their giftings and potential positions. Now, we have issues sometimes with people. Drummers have consistently over the years of Christafari been challenging from time to time, partly because they've lived their whole life isolated, surrounded by drums, and are always louder and leading. But here's a few bad drummer jokes. You ready? How do you get a drummer off the porch? Pay him $10 for the pizza. What do you say to a drummer in a 3-piece suit? Will the defendant please rise? What's the first thing a drummer says when he moves to LA? Would you like fries with that, sir? What's the difference between a drummer and a savings bond? One will mature and make money. What do you do if you accidentally run over a drummer? Back up. How can you tell a drummer's at the door? This is a good one. The knocking is speeding up. You know how some drummers have problems with tempo? What did the drummer say to the band leader? Sorry. What did the drummer say to the band leader? Do you want me to play that too fast or too slow? Okay, so playing to a click is crucial. Playing to a click is very, very crucial. Be in sync. We've had some great drummers. Marcus I love working with him. We've had some challenging drummers, I'm thinking many, many years ago. But there tends to be an us and them thing within band members. And that's why I want to encourage you guys to look into a book called The 4 Lenses. This is the kit for the leaders. The 4 Lenses kit. And if I were to show you these 4 pictures, tell me which one is most you. Look at all the pictures, not just one of them. Okay, all the pictures. Is this one most you? Is this one most you? Torie's like, that's me. That's me. I know that. That's me.
I saw the time. I'm like,
is this one most you? Or is this one most you? Now, this color right here is the color that I conflict with the most in the band. Knowing your colors, and the back of it has the description of what this person is, these different colors, and what their personalities are like, and how an orange person is different. I'm an orange person. Torie's gold. Avion's blue gold. Justin is blue. Certain band members are green. And what that means for us is that they see things through a different lens, kind of like the elephant thing. So if you can learn to understand that somebody sees things through a different lens, search Four Lenses book, and that will help you through a world of heartache and many sleepless nights. Let's go to Q&A right now. What's the first question and most important question we've heard so far? Anybody ready? Mark, have you ever had to play with someone who didn't know how to play so well, who missed the notes or didn't know the songs? Many times over. And with that, I tell them to practice. I have them practice. I try to narrow the set list down to the simplest songs, and we do more practice with them. There were some current band members fit into that description, and I would have them have a whole month of studying before we did the first show, and they did great. Believe in somebody. This is where can do, will do, fit ties in. If they're just learning how to play drums, I wouldn't have them be your drummer this week. I probably wouldn't have them be your drummer 6 months from now. But if they applied themselves, they may be ready in 9. Would you say? Okay, what's another one? Anybody have one ready?
Yeah, so Danny was asking about how, like in rap in Brazil, people will devalue like their art and stuff. What kind of experience do you have where people like will look down on you as a reggae artist, and how do you kind of work through that?
Just know your calling and don't care. Jesus had people devalue every single thing he said. They were called Pharisees and Sadducees. And did he get his credentials from them? Did he get his respect and honor from them? Was his goal of success to please the Pharisees? If it was, he failed. But it wasn't. It was to the sick that need the doctor. And so you will have that opposition. Don't care about that. I want to encourage that person to follow and to join our songwriting thing. I want to encourage you to be true to who God made you and true to what God has given you with inspiration, and not care about, you can't please everybody. Nobody does.
And one thing I always say in life, you take the truth out of everything, the good out of everything. You sift through things, and whatever comments are coming at you, you take the good out of it and you throw away the bad. If they're saying that your technique is not good, work on your technique. Things like that. But as Mark said, be true to who you are. If that's what your passion is, you continue in your passion. That's who you are.
Yeah, I'm about ready to read the next question, which I have here. Before, I just want to tell you, as a leader, I've instilled, as I said, frank, blunt. Nobody in the band can accuse me of Mark is thinking this about me, but he hasn't said it to me. Mark is talking this stuff about me, but he doesn't have the guts to say it to my face. There will be times where I mention somebody to somebody else, but only after having brought it up to that person in person, and only for a level of accountability or encouragement, not to make that person look bad. So you should have that firm policy. I will tell you straight. I will be frank. I will be blunt. I will do it with tact, but I will be candid. Candid is the word. Look that up. Candid, C-A-N-D-I-D. Because if you have that, it will create an environment where they'll hear the good things. You need to have the gift of encouragement. I believe I do. Would you say I encourage people a lot? Mm-hmm. But with that gift of encouragement, you need to have the gift of encouraging them to get better as well? Here's a great question. Somebody says, Brian says, well, just one of the things I love about you guys is that you seem to have a very approachable at the concerts that I've been to, not the 20,000 audience ones, unfortunately. Does spending time with your attendees happen naturally, or is it something the leader has to ingrain in the band? You guys answer that. Is that something, spending time with the audience, is that something that I have to ingrain in you guys?
Well, I'll answer. Me personally, I am my personality is I like a cat. You know, I'm kind of
a house cat. Give me attention. Leave me alone.
No, I don't know. I sometimes get anxiety around crowds or things like that. But for me, I love to take that time and come out and spend time with people after a concert, because that's when you get the one-on-one time. Somebody will come and tell you something that they're going through. You get to pray with them, or just be encouraged. You encourage one another, things like that. So I would say go away from my personality and come out of my shell and try and spend that time, which I think is so important. And yeah.
I like that too. Well, being my first role was working the merchandise table. So I'm a people person. So I love to hear the different stories.
Me too.
Because I was a fan of Christafari first before I was, a part of the band itself. So I like to hear the stories about how their music, it's their testimony. Yeah. It's God using God's used Christafari in all these different ways. And so I always, as a fan perspective, I think that's very important, but I think all the other band members share that too.
Yeah, we love that. And I do tell them, go out there and socialize, go out there and this and that. The things that I personally dislike the most is the impersonal, doing that for like an hour straight and them not talking to you and you not talking to them is very, I don't want to be that guy who's, anyways. So.
But at the same time, you have to understand that they're your fans,
I love bringing people backstage. I love praying with them. I love encouraging them. I prefer the conversation over just the photo.
Yeah. But if I personally am a fan, and if I go to a concert, it would be awesome to meet the artist. So I always take that in mind as well. That hey, these people, they love what you do.
I try to bring a lot of people backstage to eat with us, and
respect that. And
all right, let's move quick. We got to answer these really quick. How can you lead a band in a good way where everyone is used to being leaders in their congregation? There's a lot of leaders. I don't know the answer to that. Different types of leadership, I guess. God will give you the words to say. God will give you the things to do. Anything.
Well, it comes back to respect and who is the leader.
Yeah.
A good leader. If you're going to be a part of a group, you should know even more that you need to respect who is the leader in that group.
But Mark, we also have leaders of different giftings. So like if you have a gifting in this, you're the leader. You helm that, like sound tech stuff. So we delegate in that way too.
Yeah. Connor kicks butt at leading in that. And Justin helps lead with the set and the organization and the sound. And that's the thing. We're all servant leaders. That's the ultimate goal. Okay. There was a question. Okay, how did you share this vision to the band? Albert Hidalgo said, I try to do so over a meal. So like when I said we're becoming missionaries, I made sure everybody was well fed. I try to do so when we're on a day off. I try to do so when we're not stressed right before a show or something. So big decisions like that, I try to do in a casual time where it's the right time for everybody. Edith asked, is it correct for a woman to lead a band?
Of course. Yeah, whoever God calls to lead, he lead.
Edith, you have a brain. You typed with your fingers. You asked that question. Of course you can lead. Yeah, absolutely. If a woman can lead a family as a mother
Yeah.
or co-lead as a mother, I don't see why they can't. In fact, in some ways, they're more equipped. I will say there are certain times of the month they need to be given a little more grace. But guys menstruate too. We menstruate. So I think it's equal. Okay, when to act and when to wait. Somebody says when to listen and when not to listen. That goes back to the think acronym, THINK. I will say it's better to say something in love when you take somebody to the side, when things are not heated, when they are not yeah. Then in the moment. You know, a little while ago I got a text from somebody and they sent me something and I just wanted to bite their head off, set them straight, and I bit my tongue instead, and I prayed. I took a deep breath. Breathing is very good, and then later on, that person apologized, and I didn't say I told you. I just said thanks because that means a lot to me. And that means that somebody's listening to God, and I love that. Okay, how much time do you put in for practices and praying together as a band? Not enough for either. One of the things that we've said with our band is that practice is something that happens on your own. We used to practice a lot and do a few shows. Now we do a lot of shows and practice a little bit. So practicing, we always say firmly, you work that out on your own. Don't you show up at that show or at that first or last rehearsal saying, hey, what are the chords to that song? Or what's the tempo? Or how does that, well, give me a second, I got to listen to it. Oh man, that is a cardinal sin in our band. We call it no woodshedding. Work it out on your own beforehand. If you need to, but as for prayer, we try to do that whenever we can as a group, but we firmly encourage each other to do so. In fact, we have it written in the contract that people sign that they do so on their own. I don't want somebody's prayer life to be based on the time that I force them to do it. Again, I want to free range lead and encourage them to build that up. And so years later, they thank me for giving them the environment where they can grow on their own. And then there are times where band members are like, "Hey, I'm gonna have this prayer time. Anybody want to pray with me in the morning? Or I'm gonna do this. Or we're gonna have this prayer moment. You want to join?" It's not a mandated thing. When we do get together before a show, yes. When we do have Bible studies, yes. But we aren't the guys who say at 5:30 a.m. you have to get up and have this quiet time. That's what her dad did growing up, and all but maybe two of the siblings that had to do that are not doing that now. Mm-hmm. It was mandated. It was forced. Yeah. And I don't think that is how you grow servant leaders. Love you guys. Thanks so much. Justin, why don't you jump in and give a hoot and a holler for Torie and whatever other classes there are.
Everyone, thanks again for joining us for this amazing class, and thank you for sticking around. There was so much knowledge that these three gave us today. So before we close, I just want to encourage everyone to go on to christafari.com/donate and click on Torie's name. As we shared yesterday, she plays a really critical, crucial part in her ministry. And today you saw more of that. So go ahead and do that. And I want to thank the translators and the moderators for working hard today. You guys are all amazing.
They're the best.
And everyone have a great weekend. And our next two classes will be next Monday. And it will be reggae guitar and songwriting, I believe. And that will be done by Times and Mark. So yeah, so Times will be doing reggae guitar at 3. and Mark will be doing songwriting at 5 p.m. So with that, everyone have a great weekend, and thanks for tuning in this week.
That's right. And just a final push. Torie is one of my favorite people in the world. She's not on stage. She's not center stage. A lot of people just don't even think that they don't think of her when it comes time to donate to Christafari. If you've been blessed by this class, we want you to bless her so that she can continue to serve as such a crucial band leader within this team. We really appreciate it. Just go to Christafari.com/donate. Somebody put it in the chats right now, please. Christafari.com/donate. The top button will get you to donate. And if that doesn't work, the PayPal one right below that. And help us get her fully funded. With all this COVID stuff going on, her biggest supporter had to pull out because they had no income coming in. So we're trying to get her back up to fully funded. She has 6 kids. Help provide for them. We love you guys. See you next week.